वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्।
Some good literature has come from USA, particularly by Dr. Raymond. Out of the body experiences. Good books, very good books. Documented medical cases. Documented medical cases of USA. They are very good books. Read them. Other people may dismiss them as crazy stuff. It is not crazy stuff. It gives you real spiritual insight into your understanding of these three. There is the gross body, this, the physical body. Inside it there is the Sukshma Deha, or the word used is Linga Deha, or it is known as Linga Deha or Sukshma Deha, or the subtle body, and the inside is the Karana Deha or causal, C-A-U-S-A-L, causal body. In this Dr. Raymond's cases, some of the experiences given are what yogis experience. What you will also experience in your sadhana, or what you will also experience when you have a death-like experience, but instead of dying, return back to life. A death-like experience when you think you are nearly dying, but you come back. One of the finest instances given by Dr. Raymond is that of an American. Many beautiful instances he has given. Because in India I know so many cases, but I would like to quote a US case to you right here. Because it is a clinically analyzed case by doctors. In India we don't care to keep a record because we believe in them. We know this is common. A patient in the hospital is dead, clinically dead according to doctors, but doctors were trying their best to revive. After some period, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, the man came back to life. Then they said, doctor said, how hard we had to work. That man said, what nonsense. All the time I was telling you I was not going to die, I was going to come back. Said, what? Said, I was sitting on the ceiling and from there shouting. I was on the ceiling and shouting at you, and you fellows never listened. What happens in such cases is, the Sukshma Deha, the subtle body, gets detached from the physical body, goes outside and watches the Sthula Deha. You watch your own body. This is a typical yogic experience. The yogis can see their body from apart. My body is lying there, I am watching from here. My physical body. It's a common thing in India. Yogis experience this very commonly. But this can happen to anyone. And in USA you have recorded cases now. Not one or two, at least 500 recorded cases. Clinically. Now MD is a medical degree. So Dr. Raymond and after that others also did it. Very good authenticated case histories now you have in USA of, they have not used the word Sukshma Deha etc. Sukshma or subtle or Linga Deha. What then is the meaning of the sadhana you are doing? You say, I am doing this mantra, I am doing that mantra, I am doing this yantra, I am going to a church, I am going to a gurudwara, or I am going to a synagogue. You go anywhere. You need not go anywhere. You may do a mantra, you need not do a mantra. You may do meditation, you need not do meditation. All that you are doing is has only one aim, purification of this. That is all the meaning of your sadhana. How you purify? Now different techniques, different methods, therefore we all quarrel with each other, break each other's head. Your method of purification is stupid, my method of purification is superior. Right? All the quarrels in the world are taking place because of this ignorance. Ramakrishna Paramhans, the great Ramakrishna Paramhans, had a disciple with the lowest possible IQ. Now an intelligent guru cannot treat all the disciples as being on par. Disciple to disciple, there has to be difference in instruction. Ramakrishna Paramhans gave a mantra to this disciple of his, gave him a lota. Lota means a tumbler. Am I that correct expression? Tumbler, lota. That is, you call it a vessel in which you keep water. Gave him and he said, your duty is to see that it shines all the 24 hours, that's all. You do your mantra, you have no other duty except to see that the tumbler is always shining, there is no stain on it. That is all. So the Lotan Maharaj, Lota means tumbler, so he came to be known as Lotan Maharaj. In India we are very peculiar people, we associate it with something. So Lota, he became Lotan Maharaj. His duty was only to keep that shining. So he kept on doing Ram, 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 Ram. He will be doing the japam, but all the time he was very anxious that it should be shining. And he realized God only by doing that. He realized God by only doing that. If you are able to prevent contamination to the subtle body, your spiritual experiences become brighter and brighter and brighter. And in course of time, when this begins to dissolve, you are moving towards liberation. And when it has got dissolved, what you get is moksha, liberation. What stands between you and liberation is your subtle body, which carries with it, after you are dead, the history of your deeds and misdeeds. I have given in this book, Astrology and Karma, quotations from Srimad Bhagavata. Arjuna, you have heard about Mahabharata and Arjuna. companion of Lord Krishna, fighting in the battle Kurukshetra. All the time the Lord himself is with Arjuna. The Lord preaches to Arjuna the message of Bhagavad Gita. In spite of this, the illusory world is intact for Arjuna. It has not been destroyed. The Maya is still enveloping him. But in Srimad Bhagavata, in the beginning you read, when Lord Krishna leaves the world of mortals, Arjuna comes back, and now he is totally dejected. He sits down on his asana and all the time meditates on the departed Lord who was his companion. And the description there is Arjuna's Linga Deha, or subtle body, got dissolved. The dissolution of Linga Deha is all that you are aiming at. Whatever you are doing sadhana, go to office, do your duty beautifully. Keep alive your sense of beauty, not frustration. If you go to the office and come back with huge loads of frustration, you will enter your puja room with that load of frustration. It should not happen. Sitting in the office also, sitting on the chair like this, you should be able to meditate with your eyes open. If you think meditation is what you do, you are committing a mistake. If you realize meditation is what happens, you are an intelligent person. Meditation is not what you do. Meditation is what happens to you. It can happen any time, in any condition. So meditation is the attunement of the mind to the principles of harmony. That harmonious condition when you create within yourself, you are able to meditate anywhere. So therefore, this purification and this dissolution, that is moksha. In doing this, what you call malefic combination in horoscopes acquire spiritual promise. The destruction of something is the creation of something. A combust planet you always speak about, right? When in any horoscope 4 planets along with the 10th Lord are together, it is a sannyasa yoga. It is a combination for spirituality. I have given this in Yogi's Destiny Wheel of Time. First time I have revealed many new spiritual combinations which are not generally given in books, and the use of Vinshansha also. Because I learnt it from my Yogi Guru, Yogi Bhaskarananda ji. 4 planets along with the 10th Lord is a combination for spirituality. But if one of them is combust, that becomes an obstacle. In such a case, the person will have to wait, discharge some unliquidated karma, come back and restart. It is not a case of hopelessness, it is a case of delay. Something undischarged has remained in past life. First finish that. Then it will get, so combustion means for the time being you are not allowed to function. You have been tied down. Don't take combustion as a destruction. Take combustion as a factor for delayed fruition, delayed manifestation. 1. 2. Mostly you will see when a planet is combust, it is affecting human relations. For example, if the third lord is combust, it is affecting siblings. If the fifth lord is combust, it is affecting children. I am talking of human relations, not talking of abstract material. Fifth lord combust, I have not seen people suffering in education at all. But fifth lord combust, I have definitely seen people suffering as far as their children are concerned. Third lord combust, I have seen people suffering as far as the siblings are concerned, but not in the non-human or the material side of the third house. The combustion is affecting jiva.
Do you mean the siblings themselves are suffering, or the person is suffering at the hands of their siblings?
It can be both. It could be both. Similarly, if the seventh lord or Venus is combust, what is happening is the relationship problems or marriage problems or wife again animate. In every case of combustion, I have seen jiva, the animate part of it suffering, not the non-animate part. Now you understand, all the pain that I cause to you or you cause to me is because you are a living human being and I am a living human being. The stone does not cause any pain to me. If I hit against the stone, it is my fault. Non-human beings also generally will not cause pain to you, but what causes pain? The pain that was caused to and is caused to many of you in 1994 June, Dr. David Shawley suffered when his dog died. I was at his house there, I was looking at his face. Now I didn't want to do any preaching because I don't know what it is to suffer the agony of a dog's death. But I have seen people who are so much attached to dog, when a dog dies for 2 days you really don't know what to do. Totally crestfallen and confused. I was looking at his face. I said, what do I do now? I can't sit down and preach Gita. So I have seen this. Now here, because the dog responds so beautifully. My nephews kept a dog in my astrology destiny wheel of time. I have given one chapter, a tale of two divinities, both about dogs. It happens because the dog can give you more love than you can ever give to a dog. But the dog has a very brief life. So the dog is there to cause you pain.
I saw a bumper sticker the other day.
Pardon?
I saw a bumper sticker on the back of a car that said, "Please God, let me be the person my dog thinks I am."
Now, in any horoscope, examine Jupiter and Ketu. Both are the planets giving you jnana or divine knowledge in a spontaneous way always. Inherent tendency of Jupiter and Ketu is to give jnana. G Y-A-N-A. Your jnana has been increasing after you have had a fracture in the leg, right? Because you are moving less. Okay? So there is no handicap in life. It happens when you are very sick, when you are lying down on the bed, you are meditating best. Your body is suffering, but slowly you get used to a very high discipline. I have seen my mother in the last 10 years of her life, she never needed a horoscope. Body was suffering, but the mind was so brilliantly attuned to everything. Without a horoscope, she could predict, she could say anything. So what you call suffering is, yes, on the physical plane. So you must begin to detach yourself from the physical slowly, so that when you reach a stage in your life when your body is not functioning, when your body is giving you pain, that pain does not become an obsession and destroy your spiritual life. Vanaprastha finally essentially means preparing brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. Vanaprastha is the preparation for that stage when you say the body is not material for me anymore. The body is only a vehicle to attain the higher thing. The body is not an end in itself. So even if the body is suffering, the mind is not suffering. The spiritual life is becoming beautiful, glowing. Come back. Therefore, Jupiter and Ketu give you this jnana. I don't know how many of you in USA know about that plant neem. Do you know that? Neem? Margosa, you call it M-A-R-G-O-S-A, Margosa, right? You have not heard of neem? Well, Dr. Swara will explain to you what neem is. In the month of March and April, the neem trees in India begin to flower. If you take those flowers and for 1 month in the month Chaitra Mas, if you eat so much in the morning, early in the morning, first thing in the morning, and don't eat anything else for half an hour. In the rest of the year, you cannot have any disease caused by insects. And if you eat lot of neem, no poison in the world can affect you.
I wanted to mention that, as Dr. Frawley said, it's used as an insecticide. There's rotenone, one of the main organic insecticides, is made from neem.
Yes. I have written somewhere, I don't know in which book, in art, Professor Bhansali was there in Gandhiji's ashram, in Mahatma Gandhi's ashram. I was one of the boy volunteers of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, Professor Bhansali was head of the Department of Mathematics, Bombay University in the times of Englishmen. He resigned all that and jumped into the freedom struggle. He was known as a man with lot of fats and an eccentric man. but a very fine man, very good man, and a very brilliant his time. One day he called us young boys. We went there. He took out some neem leaves and gave to each one. He said, "Come on, you chew it. It's very bitter, neem." One or two boys put it in the mouth, they ran away. I stood there, I started eating it like a goat. He gave me more. Again I ate it. The result was I became his hottest favorite in the ashram. Now I have seen Professor Bhansali, if a venomous snake came, he would just put his hand like this, because they believed in ahimsa, not killing. The snake would bite him, but he would go take it and throw it somewhere, nothing happened to him. Neem is such a wonderful this, but if you take too much of neem, some eccentricity you do develop. Which I have seen Acharya Bhansali doing. But I am talking of neem. Just as neem gives you an experience, so Ketu gives you the experience. Okay? Ketu acts in your life like neem. It gives you a bitter pill but gives you protection. Right? Ketu is giving you divine wisdom, but through a bitter dose. What Ketu does is destroys you from within and rebuilds you. Rarely you will see anyone undergoing the sub-period of Ketu and not experiencing something agonizing which change the outlook on life. Mahadasha or Antadasha. Something happens. Right? And that Ketu finally leaves you with beautiful divine wisdom. It has given you a totally new outlook now which stays with you. Because Ketu is a subtle planet. It goes deep down into what you call your subconscious mind in psychology, but into the subtle layers of your personality in the Sukshma Deha. It has gone there, it has stuck. So Ketu is the one planet of divine wisdom, the neem pill of your horoscope. Right? That is the neem tree in your horoscope. So don't go for sweet fruits anywhere near that. Right? But what it is going to give you something much higher. It is preparing you for something much higher. Of course, in no book they will say Ketu will give you in a bitter way, but it's my study I have seen. Horoscopes after horoscopes. Ketu has given brilliantly to me also, but not without knocks. Only I cannot anticipate where the knock will come from. I am expecting it on the back, but it may fall on my head. But the knock is bound to come. So, again it is balancing. Then the importance of the 5th and the 9th and the 12th lords. Invariable, the dashas. The 5th lord, the 9th lord and the 12th lord. You may very well ask me a question, why I have not talked about 4th and the 8th lords. I will explain to you. When you know the dharma triangle is 1, 5, 9, the moksha triangle is 4, 8, 12. For your understanding, I am talking about astrology and karma, and I am grateful to Dr. Shalay. Yesterday he used a beautiful word, karmic psychology. Now I am going to use that word in the rest of the tour. That's a good expression, karmic psychology. Actually what I am really dealing with is karmic psychology. I should have called this book Astrology and Karmic Psychology perhaps. Now I am dealing with karmic psychology. Now divide your life roughly into 3 parts. 1 part, middle part, third part. Okay? Now take the first 4 houses, 1, 2, 3, 4 as the early part of your life. Second 4 houses, 5, 6, 7, 8 as the middle part of your life. And the remaining 4 houses, 9, 10, 11, 12 as the last part of your life. For a rough understanding. That is actually the principle followed in Astak Varga. In dividing in which part of life you would be happy. The first part, first 4 houses, middle part, next 4 houses, and the last part, the last 4 houses. But it is a general principle of your own evolution in the life. You are born. You have no doubt that you are born. Right? So you have a horoscope. And in the horoscope you have a lagna. The lagna is yourself. The second house is your parental house. The third house, your siblings. The fourth house, the domestic comforts and mother. Fifth house comes the education. After education, sixth house comes whatever obstacles have to come, job, money, employment. Now you settle down, marriage, seventh house. Once you have crossed the 4 houses, from 5th house onwards you have started preparing for your own career, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now after preparing for this career, now you say, I have seen enough of the world. Let me also devote more time to religious activities, spiritual activities. So from the 9th house, that begins to come into prominence. So 9, 10, 11, 12 represent the last part of your life. And the very last part is represented by the 12th house. So a man who is evolving spiritually will get the dashas of the 5th Lord, 9th Lord and the 12th Lord at the right stage in his life. A lucky man, but in the case of all great yogis, you find very early in their childhood they get best of the dashas and realize God, become gurus. Very early in their childhood they get it. So the combination of sannyasa, the stories of deprivations should be looked upon differently now. Don't call it a story of deprivation. I am a very unlucky person. I am losing this. That is an unnecessary story. Sitting there taking tea, when this gentleman told me, what's your name?
Scott.
Scott.
Yes.
He told me his guru, the disciple of Swami Gangeshwaranand. In my Yogi's Destiny Wheel of Time, I could not write much about Gangeshwaranandji because some other details I wanted, I could not get it in time. In the revised edition, I will bring it out. He was a blind man. Swami Gangeshwaranand was a blind man. But he may not know, because I don't know how much he knows about the Indian tradition of Vedas and other things. If you went to Swami Gangeshwaranand, anything from any one of the 4 Vedas he could just recite and tell you straight away. From Valmiki Ramayana, from Milton and said if Paradise Lost was ever lost, that book was ever lost, he could revive the whole thing. Do you know in India we have Ghan parties in the oral tradition who memorized things, kept them ready 1,000 times more than what Macaulay could have done. We never talk about it. And this Swami Gangeshwarananji, he was absolutely fantastic. If you went to meet him, if you had met him 15 years ago, if you went to him today, a blind man sitting, you say, I'm such and such. You had come to me on such and such day at such and such time and met me in such and such station. Even in your computer, I think you'll have to open and switch on and press something. Right? It is unbelievable. And I asked him, how did you develop this gift? His answer was only one thing, Guru Kripa. No more. My Guru blessed me. That's all. I got everything. Incredible. He never sought publicity, but I don't know when he came to USA, why you people did not take him to some TV station and do this. People could not have believed. If they had seen this, they could not have understood. How a man could remember all that anywhere and straight away tell you chapter 13th, subchapter 12, shloka number 33 of Mahabharata. That's what you are quoting. I don't know how he said that. Straight. Now when you talk to him, Gangeshwarananji, he had apparently what a terrible handicap. He became blind right in the childhood when there was some smallpox or chicken pox. So it became a handicap. Then a guru came into his life and Guru gave him some Saraswati mantra, goddess of learning Saraswati. He told me that story. And after that, knowledge would just begin to reveal itself to him. So what you call your handicap is not a handicap. I unfortunately do not have his horoscope. I could not meet him after 71. You may have met him very late. Gangeshwarananji. But have you kept any record about him here? No. You should. So now Gangeshwarananji, when you went to him and you saw the handicap of this person, you would have pitied. But I have not seen an instance of such a phenomenal memory. Phenomenal appears to be a very poor expression to me. I would like to call it super phenomenal perhaps. Anything he could remember, straight. So what happens is, now I come to the one important point. The eclipse of one of your organs of perception begins to sharpen some other organ of perception. Right? Now if your eyesight has become weak, one of your main organs of perception has become weak. Now the 50 or 60% of the function which your eyes were doing, your ears have taken over. There are some people who learn fast by listening, not by reading. Have you noticed that? Their faculty to learn through listening is much greater. There are some people who learn very fast only by observing. I know, for example, of a person in India who would just go and watch historical monuments, only see historical monuments and hear the guides Class 1 guides of Government of India are very good. If you go to India and go to see historical monuments, take always class 1 guides. Don't take even class 2 guides. Spend money on them and listen to them, because they will give you very intelligent cultural, spiritual background. They are well prepared. So I know of one person in India who goes to these historical monuments, listens to the guides, and he can discuss India's cultural history, political history better than the best of the university professors. And you go to his house, you don't find a single book of history. So his faculty is strange, very strange faculty. He would just listen and retain, see the historical monument and retain. He can talk about architecture with the same sense of authority as an expert professor. So one organ of perception which has got eclipsed is transferring its power to other organ of perception. Yes, I am coming back to combustion point again. So the third lord is combust. So something concerning your ear is getting combust. In your medical astrology, something concerning your arm is getting combust. What is getting combust here? Where is the compensation coming? Find out. The art of balancing is loss here, gain there. Loss here, gain there. Going now. Okay. Leaving for this thing. You left mine there?
Yes.
Where?
Right in the back. Well, we're going to be having an early lunch, so we'll probably still be there.
As you are having it.
Yeah.
Then I'll come in. I'll meet you. So you try to understand there is the balance of nature. Pardon? One thing. Now there has been an interesting controversy going on in India about the combustion of the node. If Rahu is not a planet which can be seen through a telescope, how can Rahu be combust? One of the controversies, they say a non-existent planet cannot be combust, right? But it is not so. Combustion can be there, but instead of combustion you say Rahu the closer it is to a planet, the closer is the effect of Rahu on that planet. Instead of Rahu losing its identity, Rahu is prevailing over that planet. So I will not call it combustion, I will call it the Rahu coloring. I have not seen a single case in which the Rahu coloring theory has failed. So I will not call it combustion. Unnecessary controversy went on, I know, in India, in astrological journals. How can Rahu be combust, this, that, etc. It is unnecessary to go into that controversy. Find out what is happening. The closer Rahu is to a planet, the closer is the coloring of Rahu given to that planet. Ketu also.
And it's dispositive.
But
So the closer the effect on that planet of the planet.
yes, dispositor is there, but dispositor comes indirectly. Directly first you see the closest association of Rahu. Finally, now in transit you watch. You can test it right here. But you cannot also test it because you are all computer people. Mentally you cannot race with me. If I tell you in which year which planet was where, some of you will remember. So one I told you, please do that exercise always. Remember one horoscope of anyone born between 1900 and 1910. Memorize it. If you want to do astrology seriously, between 1900 and 1910, then between 1910 and 1920, between 1920 and 1930, between 1930 and 1940, one horoscope of each decade, come up to 40. From 40 now increase the number, between 40 and 50, 2 each. Then what will happen is your mental concentration will increase and you will be able to see quickly when a horoscope is described to you to which decade this horoscope belongs. To which decade this horoscope belongs. And when you say decades, those of you who are sitting here, the decade is the hippie decade or the drug decade or the AIDS decade. You know, the different decades have different prominent this thing. There is one time when you heard what you call Beatles came from England, I think. Beatles were not from USA. But hippies were from USA. Right? Oh God. So the hippie generation. So you are now able to remember the horoscope, this belongs to the hippie decade. Put your own labels. Your concentration will increase. Now at the time when you came nearest under a spiritual influence, find out how the transiting Jupiter was influencing your Ketu in your horoscope. Do the exercise. When you came nearest to a spiritual influence in your horoscope, find out how transiting Jupiter was influencing your natal Ketu. 12, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Penny in the 29th year to 34th year in your case. 29 to 34th. Earlier. If then it is 24th year. Correct? Then it is 20. Earliest if you come 24. Then I will see the Dasha and Antardasha. What are the Dasha you are having then? Jupiter. And sub period? Pardon? And is your Jupiter with Ketu? Correct. You will see that these are infallible principles. But first time I have revealed them in my books, Yogi's Destiny, Wheel of Time. Till now, many of the people did not know these combinations, but I know many more. I have not revealed in the book. Someday I may write a totally separate book on esoteric astrology or spiritual astrology. Here I was dealing more with yogis, but in between I gave some combinations of spirituality. And here I have shown you the importance of Jupiter and Ketu. An astrologer. I have not come to it yet. 2. Why is it that anyone doing serious sadhana should not go to an astrologer? Now I will come to these questions. Third question, are there undisclosed patterns in spiritual life which cover up deficiencies in material life? I told you the importance of combustion particularly. What is the importance of Jupiter, Ketu in spiritual life? That also I have covered. What happens when there are more planets in one house with the 10th lord and some are combust? I have covered that. The special type of yoga in a woman's chart where a malefic planet is in the 7th house, etc. That also I have covered. When the spiritual, yes, anything? I see. Just 10 minutes I will take, I will finish. Now, the first thing I am telling you is, the spiritual discipline that is necessary for an astrologer is essentially and basically moral discipline. Moral. गणितेषु प्रवीणो यः शब्दशास्त्रे कृतश्रमः उहापोह पटुर्होरा स्कंद श्रवण सम्मतः जितेन्द्रियः. So many beautiful words are used by Parashara. I categorize the whole thing under 3. Technical excellence. Technical excellence definitely means your ability to do manual work astrologically forecasting. Mr. Roy Kirkland told me as early as 1993, when I was talking in St. Raphael, that he had done his astrology most of the time manually. Once you begin to do manually, you absorb more. Please try to understand. One. And once you begin to do manually, you develop an ability also to see which computer program is wrong, which is necessary for you. You can check it. The dangerous thing I had taught you, Gemini astrology, a planet is 29 degrees 59 minutes according to exact calculation. But a computer gives us 0 degrees, 0 minutes and 2 seconds. So the Atma Karaka has become Dara Karaka. So you have become your wife. So technical excellence, okay. Intellectual excellence. You don't go into any branch unless you have background about it. People ask me to talk about financial astrology. I said I can talk about brilliant combinations for making wealth. But if you ask me to describe how a stock exchange functions, I do not know. I can only talk about some theory. Get an expert who deals with stock exchange and come to know more about operations in stock exchange. For technical excellence, you have got to have the background about that. When you talk about relationship problems in USA, you have to know what these actual relationships are. When I came here, I asked one of the sympathetic American friends, one male and one female, I said, please tell me what is the distinction between dating and relationship. First, they explained to me. Then, what is the difference between relationship and marriage? I had to understand, because these concepts are new to me. But I understand what you mean. Then they explain this means this, this means this. Because when I see, is it a combination for dating or is it a combination for relationship? How do I know? How do I know? But I should be able to distinguish. Right? Then who was that person yesterday when I was speaking with Mr. Robert Smith, who came and showed the horoscope? Some person came, said, I don't know whether this horoscope is correct. Was it you? Then I said, your Navansha is Leo, a Karka, Cancer. Navansha is Cancer, right? Then I said, are you a computer man? Right? If the Navansha is correct, his education should go into computer. If the Navansha is wrong, so he said, is the casting correct? I was seeing something. We were just talking. Now, if you said you are not a computer man, then I would say, all right, I will have to change the Navansha. If I have to change the Navansha, how much manipulation I have to do in your birth time? This is what I mean by technical excellence followed by intellectual excellence. The intellectual excellence helps you to correct it technically. Right? So technical excellence, now intellectual excellence. I have done some research, your horoscope falls within my range of research. If this is correct, this man belonging to some other country has come to a foreign country to learn something about computers related to business, right? If the horoscope is correct. So at a glance you can see. Now here my experience helps me correct your horoscope. But now comes in the third thing, moral excellence. Moral excellence definitely means I see your horoscope and should overcome my desire to exploit you, desire to mischief, to mislead you. That is what is happening in India. I am a very harsh critic of Indian astrologers, and I don't mind if I have 10,000 more enemies among the astrologers. I don't mind. But morality is morality. You have come to me. If I cannot help you with my astrology, if I cannot raise hopes for you, not based on false analysis, then my astrology is useless to you. So there is such a thing as Jitendriya is the word used by Parashara. Jitendriya means he who can control his senses. And he who can control his senses alone can control his temptations. So an astrologer who does not fall into wrong temptations that he can exploit and make money at your cost, or he can do other wrong things to you, which he can. Make no mistake, as an astrologer, I carry atom bombs with me. I can destroy your mental peace in half a minute. In half a minute. I'll ask you something sensational about your past life and tell you something devastating about your future life, and your sleep is gone. And when the Nostradamus prediction comes out correct, then only you will be all right then. So let's go and have dinner. Lunch. Thank you. About combustion of planets. And a very interesting example was given by him when you're taking tea. A combust planet which is eclipsing, destroying a particular significations of a house or of a lordship is getting compensated in some other area. In other words, a man who has become blind may have developed an extraordinarily great memory. A man who has become deaf may develop an extraordinarily great yogic concentration, because he is a person sitting in a cave all the time. Right? So what you call a curse may turn out to be a blessing. So what you call a handicap is your personal definition. A personal definition given from a personal social conformist angle. For example, an average American should have a height of, let us say, male 5 feet 8 inches, suppose, or 5 feet 10 inches. If some American is born with 5 feet 4, you will call him short by your standards. So 5'4" is a short height for America. But it may not be short height for some of the Asian countries, particularly China, Japan, in those areas. So these are all changing definitions. But astrology of India, Vedic astrology, is linked to stotras. Make no mistake. You cannot say you are doing the astrology of Parashara and you are not also doing these stotras, which now they all know. These people have been knowing for quite some time and they have been practicing it. Why? The reason is very simple. the compensatory activity I talk about, the deficiency in one area gets made up in the other area through a proper, disciplined, spiritual life. So therefore these invocations are part of Vedic astrology. In the second part of Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra, dealing with the different planets, in the Shanti Adhyaya, many of these stotras are mentioned. In India, when people come to consult me, it is 15 minutes consultation, 1 hour of recitation. It is very normal. I have more time, I say sit down. When we do the recitation in the evening, join me. That becomes easy. The recitation of these things is part of Vedic astrology, and that should invariably be done. Now one question arises.